to our weekly Watch Party Wednesday. I am thrilled to be joining you guys live from Tampa, Florida, where we have Master Trainer and Membership Executive Angie Scott joining us this evening for our Freedom at the Helm special. Angie, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, Angie has a beautiful career before joining Freedom and is also the host of an award-winning podcast, Woman Angler and Adventure. So she is a pro with us this evening, has the gear, the setup, everything ready to go. So again, thank you for joining us. So Angie, similar to your podcast, we always like to start out with an icebreaker. So a question that we like to ask everyone is, what is your favorite song to jam out to on the water? We have our Freedom Social Club and our Taste of Freedom playlist on Spotify. So we'd love to hear from you kind of what your favorite song is to rock out to on the water.
So my favorite song to listen to out on the water, it's a little bit obscure, but I've got a friend who also hosts a podcast called Salt Strong, and his name's Joe Simons. He's down in Florida. He actually happens to be a Freedom Boat Club member out of Winter Haven, but the theme song to their show is this song called Fishing in Our Soul by this band called Jill's Cashbox. And it originally was written as a bass fishing theme song, but they tweaked some of the lyrics and made it more saltwater themed. But that's hands down my favorite song. I really relate to the lyrics. It's on Spotify, so check it out. They also did a really cool video for it that's on YouTube.
That's awesome. If it's not already on our Spotify playlist, we'll definitely have to add it there. And even more perfect that he's a member of Freedom Boat Club. So I love that. So Angie, very similar to our Freedom at the Helm initiative, we're really focused on getting women out in the water, feeling confident on the water. It sounds that's a lot of what your career has been, especially with your series that you have. Can you talk a little bit about what led you to that incredible journey and inspire so many women anglers and what that has brought to you?
Yeah, so when I first started the podcast, actually, I started it out as it was called It Pays to Fish. And I was featuring different people in the fishing industry who make a living, not necessarily just tournament anglers and guides, but people in all different facets of it. And early on, I featured this lady who leads this group of women up in Wisconsin, this fishing group, and they do seminars and different events and things like that. And that kind of got the wheels turning. And I started thinking, there's not a show out there that really focuses on women in the outdoors and fishing and hunting and other outdoor adventures. And I started thinking, that would be a great platform to be able to share women's stories and hopefully inspire others. One statistic I heard from the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation is that women are the fastest growing segment in the fishing industry, but we're not retaining them. A lot of them buy a license, but then don't renew the next year. And one reason for that is women don't see themselves represented in the media, in magazines and television shows and things like that. So the podcast, The Woman Angler and Adventure, kind of gives them a platform to share their stories. And like I said, hopefully inspire others.
I love that. I just got into fishing this past year, and I feel like seeing others out on the water kind of gives you that inspiration. So giving them a voice in that platform, I think our members really resonate with that. I definitely resonate with that. I had the chance to listen to a few episodes before this podcast, and it kind of got me inspired to enjoy the Florida weather here and get out on the water. So I love that.
Awesome.
So I want to talk a little bit about what brought you to Freedom Boat Club. I know that you spent 16 years in Nashville working with the Creative Artists Agency, developing musicians, developing songwriters. So a very interesting career that you had before joining us at Freedom Boat Club. So what kind of led you to your career as our new member trainer and executive?
Well, while I loved working in the music industry and meeting all sorts of cool people and going to concerts, my day job was sitting behind a desk. And I'm so outdoors oriented. It was kind of taking a toll on me. I was just really itching to do something in the outdoors. I'd already started my podcast, and there were some changes at the company. It kind of gave me the opportunity to make a decision. And I decided, I'm going to try to go full time with the podcast. And a few months later, I was doing a live episode from the Nashville Boat Show, and I happened to talk to a lady I know from the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and she knew I had my captain's license. That's something else that I kind of worked on over the years. And she said, you should talk to Freedom Boat Club. They're growing and they're looking to add licensed captains to do the new member trainings. And I was like, that sounds perfect. I would love to do that. Any excuse to be out on the water. So I met with them. I talked to the owner, Freedom Boat Club Nashville, and one thing just kind of led to another. And we grew a lot this year. So I did a lot of new member trainings, and I started doing some sales as well. And so that kind of evolved into, I enjoyed it so much because I love just sharing my passion for boating and fishing and just helping people get out on the water. And so became the membership executive now as well. And I just love it. It's the best decision I ever made.
That's amazing. Our Freedom Boat Club Nashville team is very lucky to have you. And I know it's been an incredible year, so you've probably spent a lot of time training and getting to develop those new members and get them excited about being in the water when it was a very challenging year for many other reasons. And I feel like the water has definitely been an escape. So that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, for sure. It has been for a lot of people.
Awesome. Well, I do have a little bit of a surprise for you. We mentioned our Taste of Freedom Tunes playlist that we have on Spotify, and I got word that you actually had the opportunity to interview professional country music star Terry Clark at the Grand Ole Opry, which sounds like an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience. We'd love to talk to you a little bit about Terry's song, which is Just Add Water, which brings together all the things that we love here at Freedom Boat Club. And we really want to talk to you about this incredible opportunity and what it was like to interview her backstage at the Nashville Grand Ole Opry.
It was amazing. It was just one of those things, everything was kind of fell in place, but I love the Grand Ole Opry. It's such a institution in music history and in Nashville. And I actually worked there as an usher. I kind of moonlighted there while I was working at Creative Artists Agency for a few years. So it kind of feels like home to me. So it was really awesome to be able to interview Terry Clark backstage. She was actually hosting a segment and performing a couple songs that evening. And I knew she had a pretty tight schedule. So I was waiting by her dressing room when she walked off stage, and she saw me in the hallway. She said, "All right, let's talk fishing." So we went in the dressing room. I got all my stuff set up, and she has her own radio show and podcast. So she was going to be interviewing another artist, actually Vince Gill, after I got done doing her interview. So we only had a few minutes to chat, but she loves fishing. She's from Canada, and she bass fishes up there all the time. If anybody follows her on social media at all, you'll see her passion for fishing. So I wanted to have her on the show, and she was a great guest. She actually just bass fished on my home lake, Percy Priest, just outside of Nashville a couple weeks ago with one of the local guides. So, but my favorite moment of the interview was at the very end. I asked her to do her impersonation of Reba McEntire, and it was spot on.
That is awesome. A once in a lifetime opportunity that you just won't forget. So that's amazing and incredible.
Totally.
Awesome. Well,
yep. I'd love to be able to fish with her someday.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hopefully she can watch our series here and that will inspire her and you guys can get out on the water together. Angie, we talked a little bit about all the new member trainings that you were doing over this past year, the rush of new members joining Freedom Boat Club, really excited using the water as an escape from the world around us. I want to talk a little bit about the different locations. We just got over the 250 threshold. We're at 253 locations now. What are your favorite destinations, places to fish and take advantage of that Freedom Boat Club membership that you have?
Well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to my home location that I mentioned, which is Percy Priest, just outside of Nashville. I took a new member and his grandson out fishing over Thanksgiving weekend, and we had a blast. His grandson caught this really nice bass, and we posted it on our Instagram so people can go check that out. But one of my favorite features of Freedom Boat Club is the 253 plus destination locations. And I have had the opportunity to visit some of them. So some of my favorites was the Dead Man River location in Florida, which is Lake Eustis. It's on the Harris Chain of Lakes. What I loved about that location is it's really close to this canal called the Dora Canal, and it's super picturesque. It was just so beautiful boating through this canal. It was actually used in filming some of the scenes for the famous movie, The African Queen. So kind of gives you a visualization of what that's like. I also really loved, just recently, I took a boat out of downtown Tampa, out of the Harbor Island location. And I've never boated in a downtown setting before, so that was really cool. We did some fishing. I caught a bunch of ladyfish and some sheep's head, but I also landed a really nice redfish that was super exciting for me. So, and I also have to get a shout out. I'm still in Florida right now, and I'm at the Palmetto Bradenton location right now. Took a boat out a couple weeks ago, and we went out of the Manatee River and into Terracea Bay, and I caught my first Spanish mackerel, so that was really cool. And I'm just looking forward to visiting other locations down the road.
Well, you're speaking my language, my love language here, because the Harbor Island location is literally 5 minutes from my house.
Oh, nice.
Do a great job there. It's also one of those things you don't think of being in downtown Tampa to jump on the water like that. But it's so easy to get to so many different destinations, and they do a really great job there. But that is one of the great things about the membership, is being able to explore the different areas. So the next time you're down in the area again, let me know, and we'd love to go out with you.
Oh, that would be awesome. It'd be fun.
So the next question I have is just kind of talking through, we have thousands of different boats available. What are some of the new models that you love to take out fishing? Maybe you talk a little bit about some of those experiences that you've had lately and recently. What are some of those favorite boats that you like to leverage for fishing?
Yeah, so most of my fishing experience, believe it or not, has been from a pontoon. So I've really enjoyed the variety of boats that we have access to through Freedom Boat Club. And so the Dora Canal, for instance, I was able to take out pretty much a brand new Lund fishing boat. And it was just the perfect size for navigating in some of the narrower spots on the canal. And so that was really cool. But what I'm most excited about are the center console fishing boats. And they're kind of, you think of a center console, you think of saltwater fishing, but I've been seeing them pop up more and more in the freshwater, like inland locations. And so Freedom Boat Club Nashville this year is adding some of those to our fleet. And in one of the boats I'm going to be taking members out on is a center console Key West. It's a 230 Bay Reef, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to take members out on that and show them some good places to fish on our local waterways. And also I'll be using that boat this year to fish the Women's Pro Bass Tour. And I'm really excited about that. Our first tournament is Lake Ray Hubbard down in Dallas, and that's March 26th through the 27th. So that will be a fun experience.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that's probably just another value add for the members too, is you're so knowledgeable of the local waterways, of being able to tell them this is where to go, this is where to fish, this is where I've had success. So that's probably a great experience. And being able to get a feel for it and then taking that to the tournament, I'm sure is going to be an awesome experience. And we will definitely, your Freedom family will be rooting for you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Do my best.
Well, Freedom Boat Club, we have become known as the social club on the water for boaters. I know we're kind of in these COVID crazy times, but what membership events, initiatives are you most excited to get to when we get on the other side of this?
So we have some members that are restaurant owners, like local restaurant owners, and I think it would be really cool to be able to collaborate with them and do some member social events and help support local restaurants and our members. And also I had the idea it would be really fun. We've got, being in Nashville, we've got a handful of members that are musicians and singer-songwriters. It'd be really cool to do a Freedom Boat Club Nashville singer-songwriter night. And of course, fishing seminars. I'm excited about the opportunity to help people learn and get out there and fish more.
I love that. I hope I get the invite for the musician night, because I feel like that would be incredible, and really kind of play up where you guys are. So that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So the last question I have for you, and this might be one of the most important questions, what does freedom mean to you in one word?
Well, so, my podcast is The Woman Angler and Adventurer. And when I think about Freedom Boat Club, I really think about adventure. And I've had so many great adventures already, and I just can't wait to see what the future brings.
That's amazing and incredible. And thank you so much for joining us, Angie, for our Freedom Social Watch Party Wednesday. I hope our members will continue to tune in to our next episode. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to freedom, family, and fun in 2021.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Success is doing what you want to do. Angie Scott, she's got a podcast called The Woman Angler and Adventurer. Her podcast topic, she says, it's inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to get their adventure on. And here's what she says about doing what she wants to do, and it's because of her podcast. My life has changed dramatically since I started the podcast. So much so, I quit my full-time job in the music industry to put everything I have into the show. As one of our guests, 5-time Fishing Hall of Famer Al Lindner said, you have to be available for the opportunities to come.
Angie, you're in one of those positions right now.
Yeah, I sure am. I say go for it.
And go for it. More times than not, when you face it, it becomes a positive on the other end, because it leads to some doors open that you can't even imagine. You just don't, it just opens. It's just the way things happen. You got to be there for them to happen. You got to be on the front lines to make something happen. You got to be there. If you don't, it's not going to come to you.
Nothing has been more true. I've been able to travel and fish everywhere from northern Minnesota to Alligator Alley in Florida through the show. I've met so many amazing outdoors women and have built lifelong relationships with them. I've had speaking opportunities at the National Professional Anglers Association Conference. I was just asked by Yamaha to speak at the Bassmaster Classic.
Welcome to the Yamaha booth. I'm here with Angie Scott. She's a local tournament angler and a U.S. Coast Guard certified captain out of Nashville, Tennessee. She runs a Quest pontoon with the Yamaha SHO 200 from Anderson Marine in Old Hickory. She created the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast 2 years ago out of a need she saw for women in the outdoors.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast. Special warm welcome to any hat brats out there who may be joining us for the first time. I'm Angie Scott. My co-host Barb Carey is up in Wisconsin, I think, wishing she was in Nashville, because I recently had an opportunity to sit down backstage at the Grand Ole Opry with country music star Terry Clark. For those of you who aren't aware, Terry calls her tribe the Hat Brats. I think we need a name like that for our listeners. So if you have any clever ideas, let me know. Reach out to me, Angie at thewomanangler.com. Anyway, we found out through some fans of the podcast that Terry is an avid angler, so Barb sent me on a mission to try to get her on the show. I wish we could have found a way to do it together, but as you can imagine, Terry has a very busy schedule, and we just kind of had to grab her when we had the opportunity. So, but before we get into that, I'm trying out something a bit new this week, and I'll explain why in a bit. So if you caught last week's episode, which was kind of our recap, looking back, looking forward after about a year of the show episode, we talked about how we're wanting to do more videos. And working on revamping our website it's a huge project because we've got a lot of episodes I have to go back and transfer over to the new website. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to get that done as quickly as I can. In the meantime, I've been putting all our past episodes up on YouTube. And there's a couple reasons for that, but one of the biggest reasons is for accessibility, because YouTube has that awesome closed captioning feature, and so people who are hearing impaired can still enjoy our podcast by going to YouTube. But this week's episode, I'm doing something even more different. And And there's a reason why. So that evening at the Grand Ole Opry, where I was able to chat with Terry, which was just not very long ago, as this was coming out, we're releasing this one pretty quickly. It was a super busy night for her. Not only was she hosting a segment of the Grand Ole Opry, if you've never listened to the show, they divide it up into like 30-minute segments, and there'll be a host, and then there'll be a couple different performers that will come on, and the host themselves gets to perform a couple songs. So she had just gotten done doing that, was literally walking off stage, saw me standing in the hall near her dressing room, and said, "All right, are we ready to talk angling?" And she's like, "I got about 10 minutes because I need to go interview Vince Gill for my show." If you're not aware, Terry Clark has her own radio show called Country Gold. It's on the Westwood One radio network, and it's like a 4-hour weekend show. And she interviews stars backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, and so that evening, I believe she was going to interview Vince Gill for an upcoming episode, which, by the way, they put her interviews up on a podcast that you can go listen to, and I highly recommend go check that out because they're really fun. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, which is going to be at thewomanangler.com/57. So anyways, not only does she host the show, she's so good at it that she's been nominated by both the CMA and the ACM as Radio Personality of the Year. So I was a little intimidated going into this whole thing, being that I was going to be interviewing her backstage at the Grand Ole Opry. So I didn't know how the evening was going to go. Her manager just said, you may need to be a bit flexible. Well, when she said we only had 10 minutes, I was in a bit of a rush. I wanted to be sure we could squeeze in as much as possible in that short amount of time. Luckily, I had all my equipment ready to go and set up. I just had to pull it out of my bag. So I did that. We set up in her dressing room, and apparently I hit the record button twice or something. I don't know what happened, but none of it recorded. So I've heard of this happening to other podcasters. Now, I've been doing this for a year. It's never happened to me. I thought I was in the clear. Apparently not. And of all times for something like that to happen, it happened. Thank God my lovely wife Dana was there as my assistant for the evening, and she recorded the entire thing on video on her iPhone. So we got the audio, thank goodness. It's not as good a quality as it could have been, but iPhones are pretty darn good these days, and it turned out not too bad. So since we had the video as well, I figured, and we're doing this whole YouTube thing for accessibility, I figured why not put it up on YouTube as an actual video podcast. So as I record this, I'm doing this on my webcam on my computer, so you'll be able to go watch, or you can listen to the regular audio format, which is on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, all those other regular places, including the Waypoint TV podcast network, which we're so excited to be a part of. So, all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this one, whether you're taking it in on the website or any of those other places or YouTube. So, thanks as always for your support, for sharing these episodes so we can reach and motivate more women to get involved in the outdoors. And again, special warm welcome if you're just discovering the show for the first time. Hope you enjoy. Please share these episodes. Without further ado, here's my chat backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, Nashville, Tennessee, with country music star Terry Clark.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Kind of turn the tables on you a little bit because you've been interviewing people backstage at the Opry.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I might, you might coach me a little bit through this.
Oh, I don't know about that. You seem to be doing just fine.
So what does the Opry mean to you? You ask the people that question a lot.
Well, it means everything. It's the holy grail of country music. It's what you want to be a part of. When you start getting into country and singing, it's in all the movies. It's in Coal Miner's Daughter. everything I grew up knowing in the history of country music involves the Opry. So it's sort of that moment when you get invited to become a member or even get to play the Opry. It's a huge thing.
Yeah. I actually worked here for about 5 years.
Did you?
So yeah,
I didn't know that.
I was an usher,
Oh,
and
wow.
it just feels like home.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just
it does.
such a great feeling to be here. So, as you know, this is a fishing podcast, and my co-host Barb Carey so wishes she could be here right now. She's up in Wisconsin. She heads up this group called Wisconsin Women Fish, and you apparently have a lot of fans in that fishing group up there. So
I love the cheeseheads. They're awesome. Yeah, I love Wisconsin and I love playing in that area. Great audiences, great country music fans up there.
there's a couple ladies, Julie, and they said to tell you hi. They're in that Wisconsin
Well,
Women Fish group.
tell Julie and Julie I said hi back.
I think they want you to be an honorary member of the Wisconsin Women Fish group.
Sure, why not? Does that mean I get to go fishing in Wisconsin?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, Barb would love to take you out. We talked briefly about this when we met here last time, but what are your feelings on ice fishing?
I went ice fishing one time, and it was during a sabbatical from alcohol, which was a really bad decision. Because from what I've discovered and learned from people is that part of the fun of ice fishing is also drinking beer while you're doing it. And I was taking a break from it at the time. So I'm going to need to give it another go under different circumstances, because I was like, I just don't get it. So I'm going to try it again. It's freezing though. I mean, it's cold. You're drilling a hole in the ice and sticking a rod down in there, and just, you have to be drinking to do that, to sit out there in the ice for that long.
Yeah. I actually got to ice fish on Lake Superior for the first time.
Great Lakes.
Mhm.
See, that's where I fish
Yep.
on Lake Erie. So it's
Awesome.
one of the Great Lakes.
Yep. So you're from Canada. Like, how did you develop a passion for fishing?
I bought a cottage up in southern Ontario on Lake Erie in 2010, and I really hadn't fished much before then, and I took it up with some people who, were kind of anglers up there, and my neighbor was a big bass tournament fisher guy, and he took me out in his Ranger boat out to some of the places we're not really allowed to go, and I shouldn't say this probably. When you get a bass on your hook and it starts to fight and jump out of the water, you're addicted. It's like it becomes a game at that point. It's a competition, so you're gonna try and haul that thing in, and then you want a bigger one and a bigger one, and I love largemouth and smallmouth bass fishing the most. That's what I like the most. But if you cast a tube jig out there, you can catch a pike, you can catch a carp, you can catch a sheephead or whatever decides it wants it. So it's just fun catching fish, no matter what they are.
Well, I grew up in Minnesota, and so I grew up fishing walleye was kind of my big thing. And then I moved to Nashville in '99, and we actually live on a houseboat on Percy Priest.
Wow.
But there's no walleye in Percy Priest.
No, there's not.
So I've had to take up bass fishing, and I didn't really get it until I caught my first bass topwater. And
wow.
That's where I was like, okay, I get bass fishing now. Have you had that experience?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when they just come out of nowhere
Oh, that's amazing.
and attack the lure on top of the water.
I caught a walleye out of Lake Erie last summer that was 2 inches off the Lake Erie record.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was about 11 pounds, and I was out with some friends of mine. He used to be a guide, so they've got all this down rigging equipment in this big, huge, deep boat, and we went way out, and they had 9 or 10 rods going at the same time. We just watching the tip. That was a different experience for me. Like, I had never fished that way before, more like a deep sea type style fishing, and they that walleye hit the line, and it just started to really bend over, and they said, you need to haul that one. I was sore for days. In fact, I think I'm still having problems with my forearm because of it. But it was hard to haul that one.
Is that the one there was a video on your Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
And I went, holy crap! And I mounted that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Probably
I
people
did.
were like, you should have ate that.
Well, we also caught our limit, so there was
nice.
we had 26 fish in the boat.
Oh, wow.
And the
That's
smaller
fun.
ones taste a little bit better
Yeah.
sometimes too. So we kept all of those and had some fish fries last summer. It was fun.
What's your favorite body of water to fish then? Is it
Lake Erie.
Yeah.
Got to stay loyal to the home turf up there.
Yep. I got to fish Lake Erie one time. I was hoping to go walleye fishing, but we ended up fishing for perch.
Oh,
It
it's
was
great
a
perch.
ton of fun.
Though I don't really eat bass. I'm meant very much catch release.
Yeah.
So if I do, like, the walleye and the perch are actually the best ones to eat. So those are the ones. But I haven't done a ton of perch fishing. You know, it's just more fun to catch the great big ones.
Yeah, I agree. I
You know?
agree. It's all about the fight,
Mhm,
you know?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of destinations that you would like to fish someday?
Alaska.
Okay.
I want to go salmon fishing and halibut fishing in Alaska.
Mm.
That is one of my bucket list things that I want to do, and I have friends who have done it. And it's just a matter of taking the time off the road in the summertime to go do it. You know, because it's prime touring season. So
Yeah.
I have to get off the bus to get on a plane to get on a boat to go do that. And I'm going to do that.
My co-host Barb Carey, who I mentioned before, she's turning 60, and for her birthday, she bought herself a trip to Alaska to
Nice.
go fishing. So she's really.
I was
excited.
going to do that for my 50th birthday when I turned 50, but I didn't do it. So I just, for some reason, it got pushed by the wayside.
So do you get to fish much when you're on the road, or
No,
pretty busy?
I threw a line in when we were in Norway. There was a lake there, but we didn't catch anything. The water was really cold, but at least I can say I tried.
That's cool.
No, nothing, no bites or anything.
Cool. Well, speaking of on the road, you have Stagecoach coming up, which is really exciting.
Yes, I do. I've never played it before, and I've heard so much about it that it's just the greatest, biggest, hugest festival to play, and there's different stages, and my baby brother's flying in from Vancouver to come to it, and I don't get to see him very often, so it's going to be a really great time, and I'm excited to get out there and do that.
Well, cool. Well, we'll put a link to your website in our show notes so people can check out where you're going to be touring and hopefully come see you. We'll share your Instagram, so hopefully when you do get out fishing, maybe you'll post some more
There'll be some
pictures.
stuff. Yes, there will.
And do you have any kind of words of advice or inspiration for other women out there who have passion for fishing?
If you're in Canada, make sure you stick within the season and don't go into areas you're not allowed to go. I learned the hard way last year. That's what I'll say.
Well, I know you've got another interview to get to where you're going to be doing the interview.
Yes, I am. I know.
So-
It's a little confusing tonight. I don't know if I'm hosting or radioing or singing or talking about fishing.
So one last thing before we go.
Mhm.
I heard you do a super awesome Reba impersonation on your show earlier. Can you do
Well, I don't know why you'd say that. Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you, and I would just love to talk to you about fishing again sometime, anytime you want me to. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll do that. Thank you.
Wasn't that cool? I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'd love to get your feedback, especially if you check this one out on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, or send me an email, Angie@thewomanangler.com. Would you like to see more video podcasts? Whatever kind of feedback you got, any guests you want to see in the future, any ideas you have, suggestions, we are more than open to any of that, so please let us know. Thanks again for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week with another episode. We appreciate your support. Take care.